Welcome to SoulWhat, a Soultopia production. Every Tuesday, Michelle and Roger Welch take a deep dive into the intriguing and proactive world of metaphysics, a world beyond our human perception. They'll talk to empaths, readers, and other guests from all walks of life to find out what's hiding under the surface, uncover the mysteries of our modern world, and reveal the answers you need to live a happy, healthier life. Now, here's your hosts, Michelle and Roger Welch.
Hello, and welcome to Tuesday again. It goes by fast.
Yes, it does. They were talking about it being Taco Tuesday. I was like, no, it's not today, is it? And then, damn, it was. It's Taco Tuesday.
Like the whole year, or just like?
No, it's every Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. Time to go get tacos.
Yeah.
She's just no fun.
What is it? What are we?
Are we anti-taco all of a sudden?
I'm anti-Mexican food because he eats it all the time.
I do not. I eat like once or twice a week.
So you guys, what's been going on with everybody this week? I wanted to start the top of the show to tell you that when we give readings for the week, we would love to hear back from anybody. You can post it on SoulWhat from anybody who got a hit, or especially something happened during the week that your reading that we do at the end applies to. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
So our guest tonight, I'm really excited about. She is quite the presence. I'm going to read her bio, but I want to tell you guys what I think first. She's quite the presence, is very kind, very knowledgeable, and an award-winning author. And she's written, I'll let her tell you how many books, but Granddaughter Crow, or Dr. Joy Gray, holds a doctorate in leadership. Internationally recognized as a medicine person, she comes from a long line of spiritual leaders as a member of the Navajo Nation. She is an award-winning author. Her books include The Journey of the Soul, Wisdom and the Natural World, and her latest book, Belief, Being, and Beyond. She dedicates her life to inspiring, encouraging, and empowering individuals to be their authenticity, or maybe authentic self too. Inducted into Delta Mu. Is it Delta Mu or Delta Mu? I get that. I say that because of Lemuria. It was Mu. Okay, so the Delta Mu Delta International Honor Society in 2012, and served on their board of directors for the Lambda Sigma chapter in 2013 to 2015. Voted as, Woman of the Year in 2015 by the NAPW, is the National Association of Professional Women. That's impressive. She has been named among the best in mind, body, spirit books by winning a gold for her book at, you're going to tell us the name of the last one, not the one that's out right now, right? The one before it, and she won that at the 2020 Cover Visionary Awards. So welcome. How are you doing?
Oh, Michelle, it's so good to be here. Roger, it's so good to be here. I almost blush, when my bio gets read. I'm just like, who's that? She sounds important, So yeah, we were both at the Coalition of Visionary Resources, and I won the gold for The Wisdom of the Natural World, which is my second book that was published by Llewellyn, and it's all about spiritual and practical teachings from plants, animals, and Mother Earth. And then another one that just came out this year that we're going to be talking about, like you said, Belief, Being, and Beyond. And the subtitle is Your Journey to Questioning Ideas, Deconstructing Concepts, and Healing from Harmful Belief Systems.
Great subtitle, a handful, like my first one. And the interesting thing about that is Llewellyn knows how to do subtitles. So get this, you guys. On my first book, The Magic of Connection, I called them and I said, that subtitle's too long. I'm telling the publisher this. How embarrassing is that, right? They know what they're doing. I said, everybody's telling me the subtitle's too long and I need to change it. And they quickly informed me. Roger, do you remember this?
That is.
What'd they say?
That it's just fine.
Well, that's not what they said. Totally.
Sort of.
They said things have changed with subtitles because of searches.
Yeah, it's all
Right.
about SEOs.
Yeah. So we met. I had a good time meeting you, and you guys, the Coalition of Visionary Awards is held through INATS. They don't
Through
own it.
INATS. It's in June of each year in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. And we've been going for
I thought we'd only been going like maybe around 7-8 years, but it's actually been 11 years or 12.
So we've gone as vendors, we've gone as clueless people when we first went.
We're like, just show, oh, hey, this is kind of cool. Let's go check this thing out.
But we've always made friends there. Yeah, it's a great place to be. So I read your book, Belief, Being, and Beyond. I have it on my Kindle here, and we have it for the store. It just hadn't made it in yet.
No.
It must be. I'm surprised.
Well, we still have a lot of stuff boxed over there, and we have a lot of stuff still being shipped to us from INATS even, so we haven't got everything yet.
Right. So tell us how you, a little bit, because I loved the way you laid out the book, Belief, Being, and Beyond. You can see it in the background. I love how you laid out the book. It was, very simple. And I don't mean it's not wise, but very easy to read and easy to makes you want to do the exercises or the journal prompts, as you call them, or prompts, right? So tell us a little bit about first how you got into all of this, what you're doing now, and being an author, and then we'll move on to the specific books.
I love it. So, just to back up, I agree with you. When I read my, the subtitle, I was like, who wrote that? That sounds interesting. I was like, really like, wow, this is, my journey to what, and deconstructing what, and healing from harmful belief systems. That sounds so empowering. And then I stepped back and I was like, wow, because when you write a book, as you know, Michelle, when you write a book, you're just pouring out. You're pouring out. And then when you consider, like Llewellyn helps us to consider who's actually hearing it and everything. So, very interestingly, I'm going to say to your listeners, I barely passed high school English. I barely graduated from high school, but yet I have 3 books under my belt and another one that I'm writing. So what I want to say is, if you've got something to say, stand up and say it. And, whether it's on social media, in a book, in your community, this is the time for voice. This is truly the time for voice. We've been placed in this situation, me as far as like being a Gen X, I was told, you should be seen and not heard. I was shut down. My voice was shut down, as a female, as a person of color, all of those things. It's like, even if you are an elder white male, you got to remember the times when your voice was shut down. And this is the time that I am saying, let's ask questions, let's rise together, let's deconstruct thoughts, let's think together, let's think individually. And that's a lot about what Belief, Being, and Beyond is about. As an author, I will just say that, it's kind of funny because a lot of people call me a teacher, and I say, oh, I'm just a student who loves to share. And then people call me an author, and I'm just like, I'm a student who loves to share. So I never really envisioned myself as being an author. However, I was told at a very young age that my voice would carry to the people who needed to hear the voice that I was standing for. And I didn't know it'd happen in authorship, but it certainly has, Michelle. It's crazy. I love it. I love it.
I saw you circling something, but
Oh, no, it was just something.
okay. Well, what I liked about the book, first, a lot of things, but how you broke it down into awakening, enlightenment, becoming, and beyond. So awakening, enlightenment, being, becoming, and beyond. Can you tell us a little bit? I mean, I thought that was fascinating how you did that, and very wise. I've never seen anybody do that before. So,
Yeah. So for the people who maybe just purchased the book, have already read the book, or will purchase it in the future, from the author, I will say, go to Appendix B and look at the overall matrix, and you'll see exactly what Michelle is saying. It's about, awakening, enlightenment, being, becoming, and beyond. And the idea of that is so simplistic, but multifaceted. You can look at it from the position of macro, the universe, the creation story, the flood story, the savior story, the end of times and what lies beyond, to the micro, which is the morning, the noon, the evening, the night, and tomorrow. And all of these things and everything in between that's thrown down in that matrix B, or that matrix, the overall matrix, encourages a basic point. Ask a question. Please ask a question. Do not be sheeple. Ask questions. If there is something on your mind, a lot of us, at least from my generation, were told that's a stupid question. And then they were like, no, there's no such thing as a stupid question, all of that. But at the end of the day, it's like, you could have all of the answers right in front of you. But if you don't pose a question, answers won't step forth. They're right there. You have to solidify a question in order to gain the answer. And then from the answer, you can take action. And then from the action, you're manifesting your beingness and your future and self, and you're actually consciously living. And it's done on a macro level, and then a micro level shown throughout a day, or a higher level shown throughout a lifetime. It's a weaving of a lot of ideas, but it will, like she said, and no insult taken, I want to get big ideas and teach them in a way that is palatable to wherever you are multidimensionally.
right. And that was a compliment, actually, when I said it's a book that you can pick up and read and understand.
Yeah.
It's not like, I know you have, we've talked over dinner, at least when we were in DC book signing, and you have a wealth of knowledge, but yet you're not trying to impress, overly, let me use the biggest words I can use, let me talk over people's head. That's why I think people will like it, and then you weave in your own stories in there. And I think it's a humble, because you've already written all these books and received awards for a gold award for the book before this one. I appreciate when somebody's not just trying to impress you with everything. So I meant that as a compliment, just to clarify. It's a great. It was
taken as a compliment. Absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing you were touching on, something about growing up and what you're told. One of the things you said in the book was the saying of don't question authority. So when you were talking about questioning, or things that we get shot down about, I agree with you. So I question almost everything, right?
Everything.
And maybe writers do. I mean, I don't know if they all do, but I still have imposter syndrome, so I don't say author very much, but I have imposter syndrome about that a little bit, still working on it. But one of the things also that jumped out at me was because I don't know if we're exactly the same age, but you grew up similar to me as far as you grew up in a Christian home, right? Okay.
Yes.
And so one of the things, and you told us that awakening is morning, or you referred to it, enlightenment is noon, being is evening, becoming is night, beyond is a new day. I love that. But you started, on a Christian path, and what I like is you weaved in the story of different, and I can't remember, Roger, remember I was talking to you about this.
Yeah, because it's Christian, First Nation, Muslim, is all how the creation story kind of weaved together. Can you walk us through that?
Creation and end of world,
yeah, and
right?
end
And
of
you
world, yeah.
talk about all throughout the book. I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, there absolutely is a comparative religion aspect to this book, although belief systems people tend to say, oh, belief system means religion or that, but I'm talking about belief system in like the purest of forms. Like if you believe that you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, that you're getting a jump on the day, then you get a jump on the day because of that belief system. So within the book, there are big questions that humanity asks. What made me? Why am I here? Is there a hero? Is the hero me? What happens at the end of me? Is there something that goes on beyond me? And these are answered within the major religions. So I always throw down Christianized thinking with like the awakening and the morning and creation, etc. As you see, it'll flow as you guys go through the book. Sometimes, and I always throw down the Navajo. And then once in a while, I'll do a Mayan, I'll do a Hindu, I'll do, so I bounce around to different other belief systems, because if you look at it, the truth that I discovered is that we are consciousness asking questions of consciousness, and religion is responding. But not only religion, science is responding, whether it's the Darwin and the Big Bang, or whether the hero is or savior is like Einstein, or all of these scenarios. And so it's kind of interesting because I do touch a lot, like you were saying, I touch a lot on different belief systems religiously. I throw in science, I throw in the major arcana of the tarot, and I'm just like, let's look at this, because our belief system constitutes how we behave in the world. And let me just say this, our belief system is so strong that it will cause us to go to war. Mm-hmm. It will cause mother and child to disassociate because the mother has a certain belief system that the child does not hold. It is one of probably, in my opinion, the most powerful thing that we hold is our belief system. And so why not examine what is, leading us and what is constituting how we behave in the world? So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give us an example. I remember you did creation and end of the world. What other steps comparisons did you make? Can you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then can you give us an example of one of those, maybe from the story, just a synopsis of like the comparison of the three, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And y'all are gonna have to read the book to get the extended version, but just give us a little teaser here.
No, I love it. A little teaser. I got you. So, so the big questions, what created me? How did I get here? The creation story, right? You have a lot of different religions that teach you different versions of giving you an answer to how did you get here? Then you have a question. We have a question as humanity, like, am I clean? Did I do good enough? And then that's kind of like the baptism, that's the flood, that's the purification stance that we do in our life. And then we get another question like, well, is there somebody that I'm supposed to look up to? Who's my hero? Who's my leader? And then you get a savior story, you get a hero story. And then you think to yourself as you get older, what's it going to look like when I die? And then you get the rapture, or you get Ragnarok, from the Norse mythology, you get the end of times. And then you think to yourself, is there something that goes on beyond me? And that's the beyond, that's the tomorrow, that's the heaven, that's the Valhalla, that's whatever you want to call it. So there's these major questions. And that's how it goes, morning, noon, evening, night, and tomorrow. And the question, the answer, etc. So an example, I think one of my favorite examples is the Savior story. We look for a Savior. So in Christianity and Catholicism, you have Jesus, the Son of God, compassion, hung on a cross, bled, sacrificed his life to cleanse us of our sins. In the Norse, you have Odin, the All-Father, who brings us this information, also hung on a tree 9 nights long, bespoken himself to himself, and caught up the runes, caught him up wailing, hence to the ground he fell again. This whole story of the sacrifice causing the mind to grow. And who did I put as I think I put Changing Woman as the Navajo. Changing Woman wears a dress of white during a certain season, and then she changes it to beautiful flowers, and her hair is made of rain, and she basically is Mother Earth herself in the depiction of that. And then I think I put Einstein as the savior and the hero of science. Like, he brought us these, ideas and concepts. And I think that this is one of my favorite parts, because this is where I also would be remiss if I didn't talk about Joseph Campbell and the hero story and how that's represented in, listeners, go look at the hero story. If you think that's too dry, go watch Star Wars. If you think that's too weird, then go watch The Hobbit. This is a conscious story of an ordinary individual born into an ordinary world, put on a quest to seek out and to prove himself, slay a dragon, answer a question, grow and be the greatness that only he can be, and then goes back to that original, place and finds out that he's the hero. And just one more thing, I wrote on the refrigerator when a little sign when my son was 16 and now he's 31, and it said, "Be the hero that you are looking for." And by God, he is the hero that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So it sounds the same like yours, the hero's journey in your book. Yeah.
Yeah. So the hero's journey is in my first book, in The Magic of Connection. And what's interesting, where it was to me, when I started looking at Joseph Campbell, apparently I talked to, I don't know, even a third grader, second grader, and I know what that is. I was not ever taught that in Longview, Texas, when I went through school. And it's every comic book story, what are they called? That Marvel and all those
Marvel, DC books. It's all of them.
Any journey it takes you through, and they're really basing it on Joseph Campbell's the hero's journey. Yeah. So I did that in my first book with Impasse, how you take that. So The Magic of Connection, that is in there. So when I started reading that, I thought, we have more synchronicity. You and I, it was amazing. So many things that, we didn't know each other. And both of our books probably, it's not like we talked and came up with the same thing. It's universal consciousness. We came up with so many of the same things. And I found that really cool. Yeah, I was telling Roger that, right, today?
Yeah, yep. So was there anything, because you didn't look at just one or two religions or folklores or any of that. You've looked through a lot of different, stories through history, religion, spirituality. Did anything jump out to you that's holy shit, I cannot believe this is not more taught, people don't talk about this more, or anything like that?
That's an awesome question, Roger. I would have to say that it's something that was not mentioned in the book. Before Christianized thinking came to the indigenous tribe of the Navajo Nation, one thing that was taught was at a childhood age was self-respect.
Yeah.
And because it's known that if you don't respect yourself, you don't know how to respect another. If you don't realize that you need some downtime because you're overstimulated, or you need some self-nourishment, before you can understand that another has those healthy boundaries as well. That's where I would say that, in all my studying and everything, and it's not in the book. So this is just like first seen on SoulWhat. It's like, hey, you know what would be really, really wonderful for us to learn or to teach our children is self-respect and self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And I've studied a lot of major religions. I mean, I would love to hear from the listeners. Have you ever found a course on self-respect and self-love in childhood that was taught through the religion that your socialization, be it parents or community, brought you to? Or did it tell you to lose yourself for something else?
Good question. Yeah. Something to really think about. Did you have anything else
go
on
ahead.
that? Okay.
Go
I'm going to quote your book, if I may, and I don't have a page number because it's on my Kindle. You were talking about spirituality and religion versus spirituality, and you said, this brings me to another thought process. I believe that the divine will reveal itself to us. And you guys, I have it highlighted on my Kindle, of course. Yellow highlighter. Joke. Everybody knows I'm yellow highlighter.
I threw a yellow highlighter over there earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna start the quote over just because I ADD'd there. But this brings me to another thought process. I believe that the divine will reveal itself to us in the best way for us to understand what it is. And then you go on to say, I may relate to the divine differently at different stages of my life. When I needed a loving shepherd, Jesus appeared. When I needed to get out of a victim role, Lilith appeared. When I needed a model of a strong yet beautiful female, I met Freya, however people pronounce that. So I love that. And so what I want to know is, how do you deal with, because I struggle with this, and I know that I have a lot of clients who struggle with it too. How do you deal with if you want to call them conditioned beliefs, or how we were raised a certain way, and then we start questioning them, and then we land, at least I landed in a bunch of different directions, very eclectic. How do you handle that yourself, and how would you recommend the listeners and other people when they're starting to say, I was raised that way, but that might not be exactly anymore what I believe? How would you advise people about that? Because your book talks about it, refers to it throughout.
Compliments to you, Michelle. That's a very poignant, bridging question to help people to open their mind. The conditioning of closed-mindedness and open-mindedness and mindfulness is also thrown down in the book. So when you read it, that might kind of massage that. But at the end of the day, what I would say is that if your belief system, or the belief system that is being taught to you, says, follow me blindly, do not question me, do not believe anything outside of me, ask why. Because my Creator created me with a curious mind. So why would my Creator create a curious mind and then punish me for utilizing it?
Right.
So it's just kind of like, relax and then think, like, wait, why wouldn't it want me to question it?
Right.
Is it because an overarching human decided to capitalize on this loving being of a creator and throw down laws so that it can control? Like, why can't I question? Trust me, I mean, for your listeners, wherever you're at, I will tell you that when and you'll read this in the book, and like Michelle will tell you, our publicists, our publishers, our editors are all over us, leading us the right way. And quite frankly, I think we have the same editor, acquisition editor, Angela Wicks, who's just like, Granddaughter Crow, you need to talk more about your life. Granddaughter Crow, you need to talk more about your life. And I'm just like, no, but I just want to tell the information to the people. They don't care about my life. She's like, no, it makes you more relatable. It makes you more relatable. And I'm just like, okay, fine. So I toss down more of my life, and you'll see. And I gloss over it with respect to my family. But when I was 15 years old, and I began to question my ideas, and I began to question God, or the Christianized God under the faith that I was taught, there were literal prayer meetings, devil's got her soul, gotta get her out. Exactly. And I throw that out there, not because, I mean, I used to think that was a solo experience, but the more that I talk about this book with people, the more I realize how wide cast that was, that people were completely shamed to the point that they were cast out of churches, or said that the devil's within them because they use their thoughts or they had emotions. And so I'm just like, for all of those listeners who are like, SoulWhat, congratulations for standing up. But I can tell you that my creator, my cat's creator, my dog's creator, made all of us with curiosity and does not shame us for being what they created us to be.
You also talk about science. You weave it in, like you've already referred to, and you say that science is open to answers, a quote, and questions and answers. This is what I enjoy about science. It is worth knowing that science can be broken into two distinct, and you go into the different fields: hard science, and then what's the other one? Hard science and
soft science
and soft science. The reason I wanted you to explain to the listeners is because every single day at Soultopia, I will say, literally almost every day, being in Dallas, Texas, you have people who are struggling to kind of reconcile their beliefs. So I appreciate how you said that, and the fact that it's okay to question, and that doesn't mean you have to throw out all of your other beliefs or what you were, but to see what sits well with you, right, Roger?
Yeah. And I do have a question, because I was thinking about it, and Michelle's talking about, the reconcile of this, because you were raised Christian, right? But in the First Nation, Navajo, they're not, Christian is basically a set of rules, but First Nation is more spiritual. And even they don't have a single God. How did you reconcile all of that together?
Love it. That's a great question. So my father was born in 1932. And he is still, he's in both the realms right now. He's in his 90s. But if you look back at U.S. history, you will understand that he was in the generation that took the indigenous people from their home, in my father's case, a Hogan, and put them into Christianized boarding school, cut their hair, denied their language. And we're not talking like, you're not allowed to say that. We're talking in a punishable, punitive way, that they were savage, etc. This is how close I am. That was my dad. right? When my dad was 40, that's when he had me. So now I just gave up my age. I'm in my 50s. So so that experience, I look at him and I'm like, you got brainwashed. So what I do is I go all the way back. I leapfrog and I connect. So my father and my mother met in seminary school. My mother is full Dutch, and they met in seminary school. And this was a mission. And I absolutely honor and adore both of them and what they did and who they are and their conviction. But then I had to leapfrog back to my grandfather, which is why I'm Granddaughter Crow. He was a medicine man. And his daughter, my Aunt Alice, who is on the other side, she was a high priestess of the Peyote way. She did not speak English. So there's a very interesting, so my father, as a child, I remember growing up and he was like, hey, he would still do that around the house, and he would be like the wind and the rain. But then he needed to, solidify that in the Christian faith. My mother, Dutch, Christian Reform, my great grandfather came from Holland in 1902. So these two cultures meeting together. And so I think that my father's soul recognized all of the pantheon, and the Christianized thinking says it's one God. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I can say that my name is Granddaughter Crow because I step back to my grandfather's spirit, and I recognize everything that is greater than me, which is everything that is in the natural world and everything that is collective, and that I might be a part of all of that. Maybe I am not separate from, maybe I am part of the natural world. So I'm a part of all of that.
Was it that? Yes. Well,
Yeah.
It answered the question from my end.
Yeah.
We kind of skipped through that. So was it that grandfather? You mentioned somebody that gave you your name, or was there something like that? Your grandfather.
Love it.
I remember. And what does
I love it.
name in
Let's give
Navajo mean?
homage. Yeah. My grandfather danced. He passed away when my father was 14, 15 years old. And then when I was about 24 years old, I connected with the crows and the ravens. And I told my Christianized mother, oh my goodness, I love birds. I love crows and ravens. And she was just like, oh, those are, bad, they're dirty birds. And then she said, but you know else? And I swear, I think that spirit channeled through her. She said, you know who else loved the crows and the ravens? She said, your dad's dad. Your grandfather danced with the crows and the ravens, and they taught him his medicine. And I grabbed onto that, and I'm like, then I'm Granddaughter Crow. Even though I am a grandmother, I have 4 wonderful grandchildren, I am Granddaughter Crow from here on out. Absolutely. And you know what I love about you two is that you extracted that from me. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I've been on a lot of different shows, but you guys kind of got to the heart of my existence. And I love that. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And it says in your book too, the traditional way to introduce yourself in Navajo is to tell you what clan you're born into. Could you explain to our listeners how that works and about your clans?
Yes. So, Ya'at-A, they call me Granddaughter Crow. I am born to the Ta'achini clan for the Belagana clan. I am a member of the Navajo Nation as well as Dutch heritage. So in that, when a traditional Navajo says, Ya'at-e, Ya'at-e, that means hello. It means all is well. Ya'at-e. I am born to the Bilagana clan for the Ta'achini clan, the Bilagana clan for the Ta'achini clan. So I'm born to one clan, which is my mother's clan, the Bilagana clan. Bilagana means white man. For the Ta'achini clan, which is my father's clan, that actually means the red. I think it means the red runs from the water. So it basically, there's a huge depth in the Navajo Nation where you tell them who you are at first appearance, who your grandparents are, who your mother and father are, who your grandparents are, so that we will know who you are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it makes you, like you said, a bridge between cultures. And you used that word earlier when I don't know if I was reading your bio or something, but how you are a bridge between cultures. And that when you say, I found this fascinating, when you say to what clan you're from, Navajo would recognize, and they know immediately if you told them that your mother is Caucasian and your father's full-blooded Navajo. I found that fascinating.
Exactly.
Yeah, that they'll know that right away. And so
Exactly.
how do you feel that you best, I think a lot of cultures need to be bridged right now. I mean, I think we all know that. And there's so much divisiveness. And I think this book is really good about walking people through that and talking about different belief systems. But how do you think is it through your books and your lectures, your teachings, or just being you, maybe too? How are you that bridge?
Well, I love it. You guys are like hitting the nail on the head with all of this. You're extracting just such beautiful, poignant things. Honestly, Michelle, I would say, so we all have clarified that I'm in my 50s. It took me until 35 to be able to not be that pendulum that swung in one way or the other. I am, a white man, and Native Americans aren't as dominant in their thinking. What? I am a Native American, and white men aren't as spiritual in their being. And P.S., you stole my land. What? So I had a very difficult time with my personal identity. And I think that you're absolutely right. There is a huge movement and a huge knowledge. When I stopped saying, when I stopped thinking that I'm a half a person and another half a person, when I started realizing I am a whole person and I extend beyond the parameters of both of those said identities, it was healing for me. I was like, I'm not one or the other, I'm both. And this doesn't come without being called a half-breed. This doesn't come without all of that shame. But I also want to throw down this, Michelle, Roger. I want to say, I was Native American before it was cool.
Yeah.
Now it's cool.
Yeah.
Now it's like really cool. And so I'm like, I have lived in many different aspects. I have been ostracized. That's why I don't want to ostracize. I have been judged. That's why I don't want to judge. I have been loved. That's why I feel like love is the best thing. And that is why, going back to the beginning, you read my bio and it was like, I am here to inspire, to encourage, and to empower authenticity, because I have been divided in myself. And it took me over half my life to realize I am whole and authentic and just the way that I am to be.
did you ever feel like you had, like when, and you say in the book how you had a hard time knowing which way, I'm this way with one group of people and I get made fun of for, and, the two, I don't want to say the two, part of your DNA, but how do you, now you said you see yourself as a whole person. How do you talk to people that feel like sometimes that they have to choose, because you learned that you don't have to choose. You don't have to say I'm this, but you're made up of all this richness and all this culture. So how could you help somebody with that feels like they're in the same position and they feel like they have to choose? It might not be Navajo and Dutch, but it might be something else. How would you help them with that?
I love it. That's a great question. Yeah, when you realize inside of yourself that you are almost diametrically opposed, I would say there's a new understanding that's coming out that says I am sad and I am happy, and both are true.
Mm. Yeah.
Both of those things can be true. Both of those can be true. I don't have to pick one God or deity to represent. I don't need to pick happiness, sadness, Navajo, Dutchness. Both can coexist. Both can be true. I can be happy and I can be sad all at the same time, and both are true.
So,
oh, you're gonna make fun of me now.
No, I'm not gonna make fun
Oh,
of you.
yes, she is. Watch this, Matt. So I've been watching the new Star Trek show. It was just made, and it's Star Trek Discovery something. So Spock is half human and half so he's two different species, right? And he always fought with that. Finally today, somebody on the show says, "You're not two different species. You're your own species."
I'm not going to make fun of that.
You actually, because I brought up Star Trek.
Well, you know what? Star Trek
But
was
you're your own
written
person.
to address. Did y'all know Star Trek was an SAT prompt when I used to tutor SATs. I've talked about it before. One of the reading sections, no, it was on the ACT, talked about Star Trek was written, you guys, to address in a interesting way all the political things that were going on during that time. So that was the point of Star Trek. That first interracial kiss on TV was not supposed to be William Shatner. It was supposed to be Spock. Oh,
but he's
really?
like, no, I know this is going to be a big deal. I'm doing it.
But
he insisted.
I found it so fascinating. I learned something from a reading comprehension thing on a ACT or SAT, but really it was a really good article. I was like, I did not know all that about Star Trek, because it addressed so many, even the original one addressed so many of those questions and hit them head on, instead of trying to, and like what you said, you need to ask questions, and it's better to ask a question. And I totally agree with you on that, in the right way, in a respectful way, but to say, hey, could you tell me more about that? Or how does that work? Or on anything, you should ask the person instead of trying to steer around it. Make dialogue. If we would make more of that dialogue, I think that would really help.
I think you get more issues from people when they don't know what they're talking about, or they're trying to anticipate what the other person is feeling. Mm-hmm. Or
absolutely,
you get a lot of people out there even today that have zero knowledge of Navajo, first tribe, native, they don't have anything, but they're actually speaking up for everybody.
They speak, they take it upon themselves.
They take it upon themselves to talk about it, but they have no clue of what they're talking about. So I think it's better to, like you said, get to know people, ask questions, and see what people really think.
Right.
Instead of just making your own conclusions on this.
And I think that goes to your book, to belief beyond beingness. For us to get to, to have that dialogue, to get to know one another. And it's okay to ask questions, just like you said at the top of the show, in a polite and, respectful manner.
Yeah, just ask.
And it happens a lot. So, no, I'm not going to make fun of you about Star Trek, because it was very interesting that ties right into how people are trying to bridge that gap, and to do it in a way that was,
We'll see what craziness
entertaining.
I can come up with next week.
Yeah, you got to try harder to shop me. What do you think about that, Granddaughter Crow?
I love it. I don't want to sidetrack, but I teach a class for empaths, right? And I did my etymology and research on the origin of when empathy turned into from like I am empathetic to actual person. And what my research showed was it went back to 1980 or 68 Star Trek, where they flew to a planet where there was actual people who were empaths. So I just wanted to kind of like, okay, yeah, let's talk about, I really like that. And I do think that, that creators like see the future. If we have anybody who's out there with a mind that is like, what if this or what if that, they're actually like our people who are telling us what is next, just like Star Trek did. And I love it. And I love that, you know, I love the fact that I was born into a world in 1970 that did not have the understanding of what Indigenous tribes and First Nations are, but I also love to be a Gen X female, to be proud to stand with other Gen X females in the right to female equality. I mean, come on now, come on. Let's not repeat history. And I'm not trying to get us off track, but I'm just like, speak our truth, speak our truth, speak our truth.
It all started with Gen X. Let's just be real.
What did?
Accepting everybody.
Oh, you think? I don't think we're there yet.
Well, that is better.
We're working towards it. But so when you were going through the awakening, and we're going to run out. I'm fascinated. We're going to have to do readings, right? We're close.
If you want to.
Okay.
We have time.
Okay.
We have time.
So I thought it was. I really liked in your. In case we didn't make this real clear, I think you did. You use the times of day. So like awakening, and when you started talking about it, this is the part you said. When I said earlier, I've never seen this done before. Mm-hmm. It was like awakening. Of course, that's going to be morning, and then was it enlightenment? Is it noon? And then the evening is being, and then nighttime is becoming, right? So that's one of the main reasons I think you guys should pick up this book, because you do such a good job of walking through the difference in, even some people will interchange that word awakening and enlightenment, and you really do a good job of saying, no, this is awakening, and you use it as morning, and you walk through it, and this is enlightenment. Haven't y'all heard those words used like through total synonyms and used interchangeably? Your book is a great job of explaining, and we can't go all into it tonight. They'll just have to get the book. But seriously, you guys, into explaining the difference of what those are. And so I found that fascinating. Yeah, and how we get into beingness, right? So another thing, just before we do, let's do a lightning round reading, but for people, just because they probably will want it.
We'll do the one.
And but just so y'all know, on an aside, under the awakening, it was also cool to me how you listed the gifts of the Spirit. And so I grew up with that. So, I think they're in Ephesians and in the Christian Bible. And I thought that was great how you tie that in and you explain. And so I just want to say, for very many people who come from these similar backgrounds, this book is a great book that I would highly encourage that you pick up, because it will help you to settle in with that. It gave me comfort to walk me through it, and because I do sometimes go back and question, the conditioned beliefs that were so strong with me, and you walked through how, again, we don't have to choose. So I really liked that, and thanks for putting that out, because I think it'll be helpful to a whole lot of people. Is there anything else besides where to find the book that you would like to share about the book? I do want to say that the one that won the cover, well, I'm sure you'll win a cover for this book next year. But the one that you did win the cover award, I always say cover, you guys. It's Coalition of Visionary Resources, but most people say cover. So if you hear me saying it, you got the gold this year. I was there when you won the award for Wisdom of the Natural World. Are these books? Do you have? Are they similar, or are they just completely different topics? I haven't read the one you won the award for.
I would say that there's a similarity because of the author, but they are different in the, like, I would think that the Wisdom of the Natural World that I won the award for was in shamanism and paganism. I think that the Belief, Being, and Beyond will probably be in more of a spirituality type thing. What I would say is that irregardless of where you are on your path, your spiritual path, be there. Do not think that you are right or wrong, that you are behind or ahead. Be where you are. Question. In my book, Belief, Being, and Beyond, I do not tell you, you need to think this way, you need to think that way. I'm like, no, think for yourself. And if you disagree with me, kudos to you for having your own intellect. And that is what the world needs to have. I am not looking for somebody to like be on this side or that side or believe this way or that way. I'm just asking you to, if there is a thought that comes into your head, feel empowered enough to ask and research. And whatever you find, and whatever side of the aisle that puts you on, whatever religion that throws you towards, whatever that is, yes, you are making progress. That's what I would say.
And just so you guys know, when you get the book, she gives you great prompts to start those conversations. Everything that in each chapter that she talks about awakening, things such as when you think of the word awakening, what comes to your mind? How do you experience awakening? And she breaks it down into the physical, emotional, mental body. And so you give prompts to get people to think on their own, to do exactly what you just said. You give a lot of information. Don't think that there's not a lot of meat to the book, you guys, because there is. But then you give them a great opportunity to think on their own about the things that you brought up. I really appreciate that too. Yep. So, yeah, you've got personal stories. You teach a lot because you are a teacher, but it's in a good way in the book. And then you have people think for themselves with the prompts. So I would encourage everyone to get the book. If we can, let's just do our lightning readings. So what we're going to do is, do you want to just explain it, Roger, because you'll be faster?
Okay, so guys out there listening, y'all pick numbers 1, 2, or 3, and we're going to give you just a second to do that. So what we'll do, each one of us pull a card, give you a reading for the rest of the week. So we'll start off with Michelle doing number 1. Okay. Granddaughter Crow, we'll let you do number 2s, and I'll do number 3s.
Okay, so get it in your mind right now if you want to be, if the reading from 1, 2, or 3 is for you, and we'll keep them pretty brief. 1 card draw, if that's okay. Granddaughter Crow, okay. So I'm going to tell y'all that I am reading with something you really need to come into Soultopia and get. This is the Rider-Waite, traditional Rider-Waite, but it's 100% plastic. This is from U.S. Games, 100% plastic Rider Tarot deck. And I thought, what do you mean plastic? I want y'all to know, look, feel this.
They can't feel this.
Not feel this. Feel this, you guys. Yeah, they can. They're clairtangency, right? But it literally is a cool paper. It's not these thick plastic like I expected. No. I love these cards. So the card I got
take those to the lake.
The card I got for the number 1s this week is to take time to celebrate with your friends. I'm giving the very basic meaning of the 3 of Cups, but that's exactly what came to my mind. is it's okay to take time for yourself to enjoy life a little bit in the middle of all the busyness that the number ones have this week. Make sure you take time to, and maybe I get out of it, maybe call an old friend. You never know when they may need to hear from you too. Just the first person maybe that comes to mind this week that you haven't talked to in a while, maybe text them, email, call them, whatever it is for you, write them a note. I feel like that's important this week for the number ones.
Very good, very good. Okay, Granddaughter Crow, number 2s.
Okay, well, I did a no-no, and I pulled 2 cards.
That's fine.
One, it's clarity. Let's have some breakthroughs, you guys. Let's have some breakthroughs. Let's have some inner vision. Let's have some truth, because that will lead you to your new day, the spirit of the East. This is all about new perspective. It's all about, thought process, inspiration. So here's the deal, guys. If you want to do it, what you got to do is you have to tell yourself the truth in order to get a new perspective.
Very true.
Very cool.
And one other just side note, in the book, you guys, she gives another cool reason to get it is under awakening, enlightenment. She ties in the tarot with that and the cards that would apply to those things. So it's really fun. You could even do that exercise on your own and then see if you get the same ones. Maybe as Granddaughter Crow is really, really interesting to me. I thought they all were spot on. So, and what deck was that? Do you mind sharing that with us?
Oh yeah, this is a beautiful deck, and I'm sure that you can get it at
Yes,
Soultopia, the Spirit of the Wheel cards. It's an amazing deck. I know that, if you tell them, hey, I'm looking for that deck that Granddaughter Crow had, they will be able to get that for you.
Exactly.
perfect.
Okay,
All right.
number 3s. I'm using the Mystic Martian Oracle by Rockpool. And so the card I pulled for you guys is the Tausicians, Resilient, Bold, Sassy. You can definitely tell this Martian is very sassy. But what I see is she's actually standing her ground, okay? So what y'all need to do, you stand your ground, show your power, don't get run over this week, okay? So this is a big card for you guys to, take your own power this week and to hold yourself, okay?
Perfect. Well, I'm going to let Roger close, but before he does, I want to thank you so much, Granddaughter Crow. Where can we find you if our listeners find you?
I love it. I want to thank all of your listeners. I want to thank both you and Roger, Michelle. I've met you in person. We've had dinner. Great energy, great, putting great things into the world. Love your listeners. Very easy. Remember, Granddaughter Crow. A lot of people say Grandmother Crow. I am a grandmother, but I honor my grandfather. So Granddaughter Crow, just type that in. You'll be able to find me, www.granddaughtercrow.com.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go. And Matt, thank you for once again showing up.
Of course.
Always.
That's the
That's
least,
the least I can do. Show
What
up.
number show are we on? Do you know off the top of your head?
You know what?
I looked it up.
Let
me tell you. I'll look it
You
up. You guys go ahead and close. I'll have a number for you by the end.
Okay.
So
What do we have coming up, Roger?
this week is actually, you have your class on crystals for money. How to
Prosperity and
prosperity
abundance.
and money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually almost sold out. I think there's only like 4 seats or 3 or 4 seats left. So y'all need to go. It's at the website for tickets, for any of our tickets, is soultopia.simpletix.com. So soultopia.simpletix.com. You can get the tickets for that class. Plus, you have, I think it's the 26th. I think it's 26th.
Mm-hmm.
You have a class for Tarot and Love.
Yeah, those love readings,
So
right?
how to get around love readings.
And you have your
Paranormal night on the
coming
27th.
the night before.
No,
right?
or same night.
Yeah.
Same night
Yeah. So
Same
you're going
night.
to tarot, then you're going to go do some
from 8 to 10.
ghost.
We're
I
gonna
don't,
do
I
some
don't say
stuff.
ghost hunting, but
It's
ghost
paranormal. So the
working
kid
with
last. It's, actually, I was doing some research today. It's going to be kind of cool. We're not going to ghost hunt,
Yeah.
but we're going to do a few things that'll be kind of fun.
And
And then
sign-
this
his
Sunday,
classes always sign up, you guys.
Yeah.
So make sure you sign up.
and
for
this
that.
Sunday is the psychic fair here at all locations, So you come in. You need to get those booked because I already looked, and we are booking out fast. I actually had to add 2 more readers today because we're booking out so fast for this weekend.
And
So-
our last one totally sold out.
Yeah.
And you guys were a little upset, some of you, but because there weren't openings, but we're telling you, go to SoultopiaPsychicFair.com. You just click which location, Carrollton, Bishop Arts, or Frisco. You click which location you want and just follow down and pick the reader or healer you want. Click the time slot you want, pay for it, everything right there. It's SoultopiaPsychicFair.com, and you can actually book your reading, healing. 20-minute sessions, $25. Can't beat that. And we have some spots left for Newts and coming up in October. So please go ahead and get your tickets to that. Now I'm going to say granddaughter, right? Granddaughter Crow. Because you said don't mix it up. I'm surely going to miss Granddaughter Crow. Marcus is coming to Newts.
Yeah.
I found out he's going to be coming. We have a lot of Llewellyn authors speaking, so he'll be at Newts
He's
in
coming to hang
Portland. In October. One more thing is just make sure, you guys, we would love it. Granddaughter Crow and myself both as authors. If you want to pick up my book, Spirits Unveiled, or the other one, The Magic Connection, or any of Granddaughter Crow's, pick those up. And the big honor you can do authors, one of the best things you can do for them is to write an honest review. You can write it on Goodreads, Amazon, or even on Llewellyn if you'd like to do that. So you can write it on Soultopia where we sell the books too.
Yep.
So thank you, everyone, and that's it.
How many?
Oh, yeah.
I would say we're about
155,
156.
156.
Oh, 155,
Wow.
156. Awesome. All
Lots
right.
of shows, yeah.
So we'll be here next week. I do not remember who's on next week, but y'all can come check us out. It'll be a surprise to all of us.
Well, she's an author too, and I meant to bring her book in. It's on the Tree of Life and Kabbalah. So
that'd be cool.
She's a Llewellyn author also.
Awesome,
So, yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, y'all have a great weekend. Thank you much. Y'all have
Thanks.
a great one.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Thanks for listening to SoulWhat, a Soultopia production. If you're intrigued, searching, or looking to schedule a reading of your very own, visit us in sunny Dallas, Texas, or visit us online at facebook.com/Soultopia Holistic Boutique. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting platform to be the first to hear new episodes every Tuesday at 7:30 Central.